Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, I tell you, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. I'm excited about this young lady that we have on here because she is going to talk to us and educate us on how we rewire your brain. And sometimes if you get your mindset right and get your brain right, you can do some things that you've been trying to do. Case in point, dieting, losing weight, uh, controlling your emotions. I believe that all of these things are so important. So I'm excited about this guest today. But as you already know, I can't even start a show without bringing in the executive producer and the co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How are you doing?
I am doing great. And, I'm excited to have this guest on the show. We were talking before the show was live, and she is amazing. And, an hour will not do her justice to talk about this particular topic, but we're going to learn all about, this subject of rewire your brain for weight loss. So, like you said, James, is that it's not only just physically doing it, it's a mental thing as well. And your brain has so many functions, but she's going to break it down to us, so we're excited to hear it.
Wow, I'm excited. So wherever you're watching us at, whether you're watching us on E360 television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, over 55 other live streaming platform, welcome to the show. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching us on. Ask any question that you might have, and I promise you we'll get you an answer. I tell you what, Michelle, can you please do the honors introducing the title of the show, purpose of the show, and this absolutely fantastic guest?
Yes, most definitely. So again, the title of today's show is Rewire Your Brain for Weight Loss. And we're having a sit-down discussion with Dr. Laurel Melon. She is an author. She is a professor. She is an innovator. And she's going to discuss emotional brain training as a sustainable weight loss strategy, the role of stress in obesity, neuroplasticity and health, accessibility and empowerment through the EBT app. Laurel Melon, PhD, is a New York Times bestselling author and the innovator behind emotional brain training, serving as an associate professor at the University of California, San Francisco. EBT is a brain-based method that teaches individuals to transition from stress to joy, addressing issues like overeating, anxiety, and depression by rewiring emotional brain circuits. Melon's work, which emphasizes resilience, well-being, and the pursuit of a purposeful life, represents a shift in healthcare toward technology for learning and support. She resides in Marin County, California, with her 3 children. Her latest book, 1, 2, 3, Joy, continue to inspire those on their journey toward sustainable health. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Laurel Melon.
Oh, what a pleasure to be with you both.
It's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Doc. And I tell you, I am so interested in the topic that we're going to talk about today and the techniques and some of the insights that you're going to enhance our audience with. But Doc, can we start off by, can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what made you click, why you so passionate about?
Oh boy, I'm a big believer that we don't look for adversity. But if we have it and we learn how to process our emotions through it, that's what inspires us. That's how we find our sense of purpose. And the sense of purpose and giving back is everything. The whole point is to wake up every morning and say, I'm a little scared. I don't know if I can quite do this, but I just know I need to do it. And that's certainly my story. I grew up in a family where food was really important. My father had diabetes, and before long, I started overeating. And I knew that trauma of going to food and being out of control. And when I became a professor at the university, they didn't know what to do with me because I was a nutritionist before I became a health psychologist. And they had to have a nutritionist on the grant. And I just got to do what I wanted to do, which is find the root cause of why we do what we do over and over again, even though we tell ourselves we're not going to do it. And I started going into the depths of the literature. And I said, why are people still overeating? Why am I still overeating? And I found a study from 1940 from Baylor College of Medicine with this lady who was apparently, she's like 90 pounds soaking wet. Her name was Hilda Brooke. And she was like a dynamite. And she discovered that the childhood obesity came from connection in the family being off, emotional connection. So I was a young faculty member. I'm 74 now. I was 28 at the time. And I said, oh, that's not a problem. I'll just teach emotional connectivity skills. And so I got the skills going. And of course, all of us researchers just love it when people change, but we don't half expect it to. We know that is anything really going to work. So I'm doing this in the clinic at the university, and this mother comes up to me, and it was just with kids then. It went on to be adults and not just weight, but all aspects of life. She says, what did you do to my daughter? She says, before she was hiding food, she was stealing money from my purse to get food. She was so miserable. And now she's in joy and she just wants to go out and play. What did you do? And frankly speaking, in that moment, I knew that I would be a bad person if I didn't spend the rest of my career trying to find out what happened in that little girl. And it would take 20 more years before the brain science explained it. But what happened was she was using emotional connection, processing happy emotions with the difficult ones back to a state of connection. And she broke the circuit in her brain that caused her to overeat.
Wow.
And she had freedom. And so, it was not just about eating and weight. It was about that she actually uses something natural, not chemicals, not drugs. If you've got to use drugs, go ahead and use them. But she was using just natural, what the brain can do. The brain's capable of changing itself, changing its wiring to produce that kind of freedom. So you don't keep repeating the same pattern over and over again. So that's been the story of my life. Every day I wake up, I'm in joy and I'm a little scared. I'm saying, we're doing more research. We're making it better and better. But I believe in that. And more than anything, more than eating or weight or whatever, it's about the freedom to use your own brain's emotional pathways so you can find your purpose and you don't get stuck down here in the bottom of the brain where it's all about stress and problems, but spiral it up. And that's natural. It's very natural in the brain. They're just natural tools that we use in emotional brain training to clear the stress and to get back to that state of purpose.
Wow. And you mentioned purpose. And I believe that when many discover that purpose, without drugs and without all of these things and find that little hidden factor that's in the mind, that is the beginning of setting them on the right track to achieve anything that they are pursuing. So Doc, I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So I can tell you're so passionate about everything you do, your work. Did you have any role models growing up or along the path that kind of like push you or focus you and you said, hey, this is what I want to do? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It was my grandmother. My grandmother lived to be 102 years old. And my father would say, oh my gosh, she's so old and she's in a bed. She can't really think very well. And, but she had this energy about her. She would get up in the morning and she would just work like crazy. She actually worked for a church. She was the village, the caller, where they used to have parish callers, where when new people come to church, you have to, introduce them and everything. Well, she knew the name of 5,000 parishioners in the Methodist Church in Chula Vista. And she was just driven for purpose. And you know what? Even when she was older and not that coherent, I could feel her energy. And I said to my dad, she's going to live as long as she does, but I can feel her loving, purposeful presence. And that's part of who I am. So that was a message to me that no matter how old people get, their essence is still there, and they can even inspire younger people. So my grandmother and her sense of love of the spiritual, love of energy, I definitely got that. I think I got it genetically, but I got it from just being with her and knowing she was alive for so long.
And you know what? And that's I can say myself. I spent a whole lot of time with my grandmother growing up, and she instilled in me the sense of purpose, and the sense of just being the best person that you can. Always be honest to yourself, first of all, and you can achieve anything that you want to do in life. So
Absolutely.
we got about 2 minutes before the break. So what or who inspired you to be a professor, a doctor, uh, the person that you are today?
Well, the person I am today really came from, it's a spiritual thing that I got from my grandmother, but also I had an early mentor that was very important to me. His name was Dr. Charles Irwin, and he is a professor of adolescent medicine. He's known worldwide. And the first thing that happened to me when I got my wonderful faculty position, which is very hard to get a faculty position, I just got very lucky. And the first thing I did is get pregnant. This is not what you do when you get a professor job. And he came to me and he said, Laurel, it's the perfect thing, because I had lost one child when I was in my early 20s. I had a pregnancy. I was newly married and I had a pregnancy and I lost my child, and I was told I would never have children, that there was something wrong with my body. And so I went back to graduate school. I knew I wanted to have 4 children. I knew I would never have children. And then, of course, as soon as I get out of graduate school and I get this plum position, I find out I was pregnant. But it was a high-risk pregnancy, so I had to go to bed. I had to be on bed rest for 6 months. So I go on bed rest for 6 months. And what do I do but write my first book? So I'm a big believer in it's all perfect. No matter how bad things are, and we do this in EBT, no matter how bad their things are, that's the essential pain. That's the hard part. You just have to stay the course and learn from it. And then you reap the earned reward, which is always higher purpose. You get just what you need when you need it, even though it's not what you want. And if you follow that and just stay connected to yourself, you'll survive and you'll learn, change, and grow. And that's what happened to me. So Dr. Charles Irwin, he comes to me and he says, Laurel, this is the best thing that could ever happen to you, because you will have to slow down and you will have to have much more compassion for yourself and everyone else on the planet, because you've done something very hard. Moment to moment, I didn't know whether the baby would be born and essentially die. And so, and he was right. He instead of telling me, I made a terrible mistake hiring you, he said, embrace it. And
Embrace it. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to come back. We're going to embrace that thought when we get back. So, as you see, this is already an exciting conversation, and we haven't even made it to the topic of the show. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. So, if you want to be part of the conversation, regardless of which platform that you're watching us on, all you have to do is go to the platform, ask any question that you might have. I promise you that we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Heaven Abounds in You takes you on an inward journey of discovery that dramatically transforms your outward experience of life. Discover the power of belief. Utilize it in connection with science to create a vision of meaning and purpose that pulls you forward. Let go of the meager me to discover the magnificent me. Let go of your painful past and live life free from fear, worry, and stagnation. Experience an abundant universe as you powerfully create happiness, relationships, health, and limitless opportunities. When you heal your mind, all things are possible.
Hello, welcome back to James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And Dr. Lauren she already laid out a little sample. So I know everybody is hungry to get more and more information from this great guest of ours. And I'm excited as well. I'm going to start off with this question, Dr. Lauren. What exactly does rewiring your brain for weight loss means?
Well, that's a big story. So let me start with the beginning. Until there was emotional brain training, which we developed at the University of California, San Francisco, based on neurophysiology, not psychology. This is biology, not psychology. There was no way for all of us, everyday people of any age, 6, 16, 26, 46, 106, to even think about the circuits in their unconscious mind, the emotional brain. Yet the circuits in the unconscious mind control our biochemistry, our thoughts, our emotions, our drives, and our behaviors. Now, that's a big loss. So if you walk through your day and you say, I am what I think and I am what I do, thinking and doing is very important. But the fact is, the circuits in your emotional brain control what you do and the biochemistry that drives you to do it. So in your brain, and it's called in the amygdala, there's an amygdala right in the unconscious mind, and it stores all of your life experiences. When you have a circuit, through circuits, and when you have a circuit in your brain from a bad experience, a trauma, or let's say reaching for drugs or reaching for food or whatever, it stores it. It stores it in a really, really powerful way. Let's say you reached for food when you were upset. Like when I was 11, I was bullied at school. I came home. I didn't know how to talk about my feelings. I went right to 3 cinnamon rolls, and I ate 3 of those big white cinnamon rolls. And I was very ashamed of that because in our family, my dad had diabetes and we were very careful about food. I'd stolen the food. But really what happened was I had been in fight or flight mode. So imagine this, you're in fight or flight mode and you do something to survive. Yes. What happens is the fight or flight drive combines with whatever you did, eating, drinking, spending, judging, anxiety, panic, whatever, it combines and it combusts and it makes this new wire. I woke up the next morning and I had a fight or flight drive, biochemical drive from the wire that was encoded, the food circuit that was encoded in my brain. So I was craving sugar. This is true of anyone. Now, this goes for drugs. It goes for being addicted to people or distancing from people or rescuing or fixing people or depression or anxiety, this phenomenon of fight or flight plus something else, it's called a false association. It's called a survival circuit. It's
Mhm.
in your amygdala, and it's going to stay there for the rest of your life if you don't activate it, process the emotions, and change the message. But anyone can learn to do that as a basic skill. In EBT, you come in first and you learn that there's 5 levels of stress in the brain. The top level, when you're in joy, is 1. And then it goes downhill all the way to the reptilian brain is when you're stressed out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All the memories to tell you to overeat or overdrink or overspend or judge people or whatever you're doing that you don't like are stored in the very bottom of your brain. These circuits are emotional circuits, and they won't go away until you both activate them and stay
Mhm.
present to the emotions. When you do that, the circuit opens up like a flower and you can actually change it. So EBT gives you the tools to be so powerful with your emotions that you can stay present. You dismantle the anxiety, the depression, the rage, and everything else. You dismantle it. It opens up. You find out what that message is in your brain. Like mine was, I get my safety from eating sweets. Whatever that drive is, you change the drive and the behavior stops. The behavior stops. If you think your way through it, trying to, I should do this, you will use a method called extinction, which means you have lots of good habits when you're not stressed. But the
Mhm.
moment you get stressed, that's it. You're going to do whatever you did before, and you're going to feel out of control and then blame yourself.
Wow, that is very interesting. How long did it take, as for the research behind EBT? How long did it take to put this all together for everything to, I would say, make sense, especially to people like myself who've never heard of this? Just, I guess, can you walk us through the step by? Well, I'm sure it was a long process, but how long did it take to put this research into existence?
It really took about 30 years. And
Wow.
because essentially the method was already in practice. We knew that it worked for weight loss. In fact, for weight loss, EBT is the only method other than weight loss surgery. Drugs can't do this, that shows continued weight loss after treatment ends. Published in peer-reviewed journals. This is incredibly effective for weight. But we knew it was effective, but what we didn't know was how to make it into an app, how to make it really, really powerful for trauma,
Mhm.
how to make it so that there's support. Now on our website at ebt.org, every single day there's a real live health professional sitting there waiting, and you can come in there for $1 a month for the first month and have someone talk to you and listen to you, because ultimately the biggest healer is emotional connection to other people. So the combination of using this app, this process of how you rewire circuits, with having someone listen to you, and people helping people help themselves, we have small groups and people help each other essentially clear these circuits, and there's so much joy and power in the room. So it's about human connection. That's what this is about, the skills for connection, and then an environment where you can connect with other people safely across the miles, across the
Mhm. Tell us more about the app.
yeah.
We definitely want to know about the app. So can you kind of go into a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the app is essentially what you keep with you all the time. So what the app does is all you have to do is identify your brain state, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and it guides you through the process. And the first thing you do is dismantle the emotions that I'll tell you about in a moment. So when you process your negative emotions, this is how wonderful the brain is. If you process your emotions in a very specific way, starting with anger, sadness, and then sadness and fear and guilt, I'll tell you about that. If you do that, it doesn't matter whether you're hostile, panicked, ashamed, worried, anxious, whatever, it doesn't matter. They go away. So all of what you've heard in psychology, which is you've got to, if you're depressed, that's one thing. If you're anxious, that's something else. If you're ashamed, that's something else. If you're numb, that's something else. We found that that's wrong.
Mhm.
In fact, no matter what of those stuck emotions you're in, if you do one thing, follow the EBT formula, express a little bit of anger that's productive and safe, it clears so much stress around that you don't go into depression or panic or shame. You go into this sweet sadness, then this sweet fear, then this guilt is just, what could I do differently? And all of a sudden your brain opens up. So you clear away the emotions first. You come back to a state of connection. And I'm going back to JC on this. I noticed in the break, you were talking about knowing who you are. Well, when we went through the pandemic, one of the predictors of whether people did well or not was whether they had a positive self-concept. And if you've been raised in an environment that is judgmental, if you've been out in the world and people are denigrating you, some of that information is going to go into the bottom of your unconscious mind, and it's going to cause you stress and cause you to do things you don't want to do. So one of the basics of EBT is, after you clear the stress, you can ask yourself, who am I? And it's not, I am a doctor, or I am a worker, or I'm a whatever. It's, who am I in my essence? I am a loving, good person. And in that moment, you are rewiring your self-concept. And that is what you hold on to. I am a good person. And then, because I don't care how good we are as people, what our brain wants us to do is help other people. It wants us to go forward and take challenges and take risks, all for higher purpose. Because it's only when we're giving back to others that we're fully, we can be complete. And so we say, okay, what are the challenges you're facing? Oh, I'm facing this, nobody likes me right now, or I've just lost my job. And then you say to yourself the most important question. People throughout the whole universe are facing similar changes. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be in facing that challenge? And then you say, I want to be someone who steps up to the plate. I want to be someone who has brings out the best in myself. And then you finish it off with what's something called the Take Action tool that teaches you how to go forward with purpose. All of that happens in 1, 2, or 3 minutes, because it's all on the app. You just follow one page after another, and all of a sudden you're feeling the glow.
Wow. It's interesting, when you, when anybody, whether themselves or people they know or people they observe, if they're, let's say they're obese, and you just talked about, fight or flight, you eat when you feel stress. I believe, and just correct me if I'm wrong, the overeating is not because you're actually hungry. It has nothing to do with you being hungry. It has to do with finding a coping mechanism to deal with your stress. It could be anything. Like you said, it could be drinking, drugs. It could be, just anything. It could be food. But I know there's so many traditional ways of people have come across to lose weight, diet and exercise. That's all good, but your brain has to be right in order to find out, let's say, the root or why you got to this point. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm so glad you're bringing it up, because I know that we can be addicted to a lot of things, and some things that we're addicted to are more deadly than others. But I'll tell you, my heart is there with anyone who has struggled with binge eating, with being judged about their body size and so forth, because essentially eating and weight are so sensitive to stress that if you don't rewire your brain, you are going to be coming up against a wall all the time. Here's the idea. In your emotional brain, there's a triangle of 3 structures. These are all controlled by emotions, not thoughts. And one of them is the amygdala, and that's where all those circuits are. That's where your whole life is stored. All the memories of the past are stored there, and these circuits get activated. Let's say that here I was the kid at 11 who had a binge eating problem from, essentially from, I suppressed my emotions and I reached for the cinnamon rolls and I made that survival circuit. What happens is that survival circuit is stuck right there in my amygdala, but I can be anywhere and for no reason. If anything reminds my brain of those cinnamon rolls, what's going to happen is I activate a circuit and it goes to the second part of the brain, the reward center. Now, this is just like drugs, because remember, food is toxic food, and all this processed food is so toxic. It goes to the reward center, and instead of having this nice, beautiful dopamine that's sustainable, not addictive, it essentially drains my dopamine. So I feel like I'm unrewarded. So then I'm essentially stressed and unrewarded. And then what happens is the hypothalamus, the third one, says, that's all right. I'll make you really comfortable overeating. And in fact, if you eat less, you're going to feel deprived. So those three structures work together to create all these chemicals, 8 major chemicals that drive overeating. And if you turn off the stress response, those 8 chemicals stop raging and forcing you to overeat. So it is a mindset, but more than that, it's biochemically driven by stress. If you take an injection, you get 1 chemical. If you use EBT to turn off the stress response, all 8 of them normalize. And as you rewire that circuit, you stop wanting the food. In fact, on our website right now, ebt.org, it shows a woman who's talking there, and she's saying, I had eating problems since I was a little girl. And when I finally rewired that circuit, I don't even care about the food. Now that's control. But it's also very interesting. If you're out there judging yourself for eating or weight, that is totally wrong. You have a circuit in your brain that is biochemically driving you to do that. You can go on a diet, but it'll wear you down. You can take a medication. It will. You can only do it so long. No matter what diet you go on, within 1 year, you're back to, on the average, people are back to where they started. Instead, go ahead and turn off the chemicals. Turn off those chemicals so it's easier to eat less and lose weight and keep it off.
Thank you. We have got to take a break now, but hold that thought. We'll be right. And please, audience, if you have any comments or questions for Dr. Melon, please send those in, whatever streaming platform you're looking at, and we will be right back.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are, and one that keeps us close when we're apart. Talking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of
Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, I was just mesmerized during the last segment, just listening to Doc, Lauren, and also Michelle, just exchange, and we was talking about the foundation of, I think we call it
BT.
EBT,
Mhm.
EBT. So, hey, Laura, can you break it down to our viewers and the listeners exactly what does EBT stand for, and what does some of the things that you all do?
Great. Well, first of all, it's emotional brain. That's the unconscious mind, which is the stress brain, which has us with all our drives and our wisdom and our ability to connect. Everything important is in the emotional brain. So we're training that brain to get out of the stress ditch and get to a state of purpose and connection. And so what that means is, instead of asking yourself, how do I feel? You ask yourself what your stress number is, the stress number in your brain. This is really important. This is called brain state education. Everyone should have this. I'm going to give it to you really quickly. Let's say you're with a friend and your friend is acting terrible. And you're saying to myself, why do I have this friend? And they're not nice anyway. And dump on them. They're just creepy. Okay. So judgments fly, right? I want you to think something differently. I want you to think, what brain state am I in? Am I at one where I'm all about love and forgiveness and power to do good and purpose? Or am I down at two? So instead of feeling great, feeling good, feeling a little stress is a different place in your brain, feeling definitely stressed or feeling stressed out. Your job in that moment, because judgment about anyone is going to come back at you and cause you to be stressed and disconnected from yourself, because there's no one on this face of the planet that doesn't do some things are wrong. It means non-judgment is everything with boundaries. So you can stay away from people or give feedback to people when they're doing things that are harmful, but you don't judge them. You look at them and you say, what brain state is that person in? Everyone can be in all 5 brain states. Maybe they're in 5 right now and they're having a hard day. I've been at 5 before, so it gives you compassion. It gives you compassion toward yourself too. When you do something that you think is objectively bad, because these circuits are nasty circuits, and when they get activated, the thinking brain goes offline, and we just do whatever that circuit tells us to do. That's why we rewire them. But when you do that, don't judge yourself. Don't be ashamed of yourself. Instead, have compassion for yourself and then take action to change the circuit so it will be less likely to happen next time. So use your power to change your circuits. No judgments, just the power to process your emotions, which I can show you how to do,
Yes.
to essentially change the wire.
Dr. Ellen, I have a question. So besides the emotional brain training and the app and everything we can do to get our, let's say, brain the way it needs to be, what about does professional therapy also is incorporated with emotional brain training, or is it just dependent on the person's, let's say, vices, vices to eat more, vices to drink more? What are your thoughts about that?
It's always great to have a great physician. You can't go wrong with getting some therapy because there's someone to listen to you. In emotional brain training, you can combine that plus medications with EBT. But let me tell you what we do. It's not as if you're a lone island, because the emotional brain wants you to feel love for yourself and other people and connect with them. And so with EBT, that's why we don't give out this app unless you're a member, because when you come in, you automatically are with other people. And that loving connection, see, the emotional brain has no walls. So let's say you first come in and you're in just a basic spiral up drop-in group. You have a therapist there, a PhD, someone who has training as an EBT provider. They see you, hear you, feel you, and teach you, guide you how to do this. But once you get into the rewiring, you go into your own little group. There's an EBT provider and 7 other people. And throughout the week, you help each other. You get on the phone anonymously and connect with the 7 other people. They listen to you without giving you advice. They hear and they're doing the same thing. This is about humility. Everybody has these circuits, but these are people who are doing something about their circuits and raising their own brain's natural state to stay in joy. So it's really about therapy in motion, of people helping people help themselves. And then you can always do one-on-one session with your EBT provider, which is essentially brain-based therapy.
Wow. Is there more research being done with EBT? I mean, I know it's established over 30 years ago, but is still more ongoing research being done?
We are doing so much research. We're doing one project where we're taking addiction and adding EBT to the addiction therapy. And what happens is people change fast. We also have work going on to do with marriage. One of the most sensitive things to stress is your relationships. And your relationships, when you're on your deathbed, you'll remember what you accomplished in your life, but you'll remember those loving moments with relationships. Relationships are so sensitive to stress that essentially, if you're not at brain state 1, you're not capable of intimacy. At 1, you have intimacy. 2, you're kind of companionable. 3, you're social. And then you just use people. I treat you like an object and you treat me like an object. So essentially, research, when you bolt on EBT to relationship counseling, all of these different kinds of activities are now going on. Plus, we've seen it with people, even bariatric weight loss surgery failures, people that couldn't gain the weight back after failure of surgery. They have used EBT and they get better too. So it's really something we want everyone to have, prevention or treatment. Because if you can't get out of the bottom of your brain, you get stuck there, and then the reptilian brain owns you. And we don't have to do that anymore, because we have the technology with EBT to spiral up out of it. And I can show you how to do it. Because it's really fun. It's really, really fun.
It's interesting what you said. It's about, people who have had weight loss surgery, but they go back to the same patterns and eating habits that they used to. But it's all about inside. You can change the outside, whatever issue is going on. But if the root of the problem, which is always the inside, your brain, mental health, if that doesn't shift, if it doesn't change, that outside is going to stay there just for a temporary, but it's going to go back to the old reliable behaviors, even though those behaviors are negative. What are your thoughts?
Exactly. If you don't change the brain, you don't change. And this poor group, this is a particular group that is so disadvantaged because their life has been altered by, they've had surgery. They've been that desperate, which people are. It's just so miserable to have an eating weight problem for many people. And so what happens is, one woman in our study she just said, "Oh my gosh, all I did is what you told me to do, Dr. Laurel. I took the app and I spiraled up, and I did that for a week, and I've been gaining weight, and I lost 3 pounds without dieting." Why? Because when your brain state, your physiological state, you feel great, but your biochemical is great, stops those stress chemicals from making you overeat, feel hungry, and gain weight. So it's biochemical, not psychological. But she says, "Laurel, I had all that surgery to fix my stomach, but the problem wasn't in my stomach. My problem was in my brain, and EBT gave me the power to change that right from the start."
Wow, hold that thought. We're gonna take a patient break. This is so intriguing and so interested. So I tell you what your platform that you're watching us on, you want to be part of the conversation? Dr. Lauren, come on. She's incredible. You already know that. And if you have any cravings, you have whatever that is, listen to this young lady right here. She can help you. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And first of all, audience, this doctor right here is incredible. I mean, inspiration, aspiration requires one thing in order to make things work. That's perspiration. You got to work for it. And you have to have the right mindset in accomplishing anything that you set out to do, especially when it comes to your mental, physical well being. I believe that all of those things are so important with the mindset and being able to rewire the brain on the things that you want to accomplish. So Doc, I got to get you on Wednesday's show, which is 360 Degrees of Health, where we have some of the top doctors around the United States and overseas on the show with Dr. Michael Mantel. I don't know if you know of him.
Yeah, yes.
That's
Wonderful. I'd love to.
yeah. So, hey, I want to talk about your book a little bit. I mean, I know we've been locked in on all of these great things about emotion, about the EBT, all of that stuff. Why don't you tell our viewers and listeners, first of all, again, the title of your book,
Is
and tell them about
one, two, three, joy.
and tell them about some of the things that you write and why you write.
Oh, I write books, and I've written a lot of books because some people learn best by reading. What they want to do is they want to digest the science slowly. They want to look at the procedures carefully. And they also want to trust that this is not just a video. It's coming to them with well-documented information that they can follow. And I told the story in this book of how I developed EBT. I told the story of lots of different people who use them, very, very diverse people. And so it's a great center for learning about EBT. I called it 1, 2, 3 Joy, because essentially you start with first learning how to spiral up to joy. And that's what I want everyone to know, is that if you're overeating, over drinking, overspending, getting in rages, if finding that you're at loggerheads with other people, or just disconnected from yourself so you don't know your purpose, I want to tell you how beautiful the emotional brain is. It is so forgiving. All you have to do is come to EBT and use the tools just to spiral up through your emotions. The very first time you do that, you clear away the stress, you activate the reward centers, and you feel for a moment in that state of joy and purpose. You just feel it. It's in every cell of your body. And then you stay with it to rewire more circuits. So you stay in that mindset more naturally, more easily. And then you essentially raise the set point of your brain so you're in the habit of staying there. And if you do that one thing, you'll be spiritually connected, emotionally connected, cognitively at your best, and able to have a body that's healthy so it can move you forward to doing what you came to Earth to do. Take care of your brain's mindset, just like JC said, with the skills to spiral up through your toxic emotions back to state, and the rest of your life will go very well because you'll be from that state of connection where you're your best self.
Wow. So Lauren, what is the target audience? I mean, everything is not for everybody, meaning that even when we're writing books, when we're diagnosing, we're doing this, we have a certain mindset of group or audience. We like to have everybody, of course.
Yeah. Right.
But what is the main target audience that can get the
I
best?
was just saying that to myself, why am I doing this? Because, I have spent 42 years doing this, and it really is not for the worried well. I am not, they can use the EBT. That's just fine. What I felt like is I felt desperate in my life. I felt like I was out of control. I felt like there was no answer, that I was just going to be a lost soul. And it was just because of a few circuits in my brain. And what I'm suggesting to you is that I am here, and EBT is here for anyone who wants to live a life of purpose understands it's that they have power to do that. It's going to take work. It takes power to do that. But they also know that the adversity they've been through is a ticket of admission to being an exceptional person. And when you only work with people who are just, they've never had any bad experiences, they've had everything laid out for them on a platter as if, life is rosy. Life is not rosy. Life is really hard. And so they never learned how to go all the way down to brain state 5, open their heart to the spiritual, open their heart to the goodness in themselves, and wire that into their brain and come back up again. That's what it takes to be an amazing human being with a wonderful life. So I'm for anyone that feels as if they've been through a lot, nothing's really worked as well as they wanted it to, and they're going to roll up their sleeves and learn how to spiral up out of their pain and get into a place where they can be of service to more people. That's our audience.
Wow. Well put together, because many people look at people and they just looking at them from on the outside thinking that they got such a wonderful life. All of these things are so great, television stars and all that. But they fail to realize that everybody, regardless of what your situation or circumstances, life is not always, uh, behind what's happened behind the curtain. You have to step out there, and it doesn't matter how much money you got, how successful you might think you are, or etc. We all have to live life together. And what you're talking about is rewiring the brain, rewiring your the mindset, and not let emotional sometimes take over from us. So, Lord, we got about 2 minutes left in the show. Can you give our viewers and our listeners some closing remarks? Also, tell them how they can get in touch with you and list your services, etc. So we got 2 minutes. It's all yours.
So I want you to know that all of neuroscience is really at your beck and call now, and that everyone is in stress overload to some extent. You don't have to be. You can learn simple skills to spiral up out of it. You can contact me directly. My email is laurel@ebt.org. You can come to our website, and every Tuesday and Wednesday night, I'm on the Zoom there with you. And what I'm here to do is to tell you that you have far more power than you've ever known. And it's because of all the researchers over the years who have figured out how the emotional brain works. It's here for you. This method is here for you, and it will change your life. The first time you spiral up, you'll say, "What is that?" And then you'll say, "I want more of that." And remember, it's about getting back to joy and purpose, and that's everything. You know your purpose in the moment. The first time you spiral up, you say, "I am of purpose." Wow, that feels really good. And just do it more and more until that becomes part of who you are on a cellular level. And then your life is complete.
Laura, I want to personally thank you for taking the time to come on the show today. Dead serious about getting you on with Dr. Mantell and I, and probably a couple other docs on our series every Wednesday called 360 Health. I'd like to thank the marketing team for referring you to us, and we love you. We love the education you just shared, and we would love to get you back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I also like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another outstanding show. Krista, thank you. You already know that. I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And also on Sunday in prime time on radio, KCBQ AM 1170, FM 96.1. Always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.